Holiday episode of Cantina Chronicles.
Whee!
Woo!
Yeah.
This week we're doing a retrospective 2023 in review. Everything Star Wars. Everything Star Wars this year that we were going to look back at it all. Ben put together a list.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Kid did some work for a change.
You did a lot of work, my friend.
I know.
And we're thankful.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Very grateful to be here with you guys, man. It's been excited. We kind of pre-taped the last week, so it's been 2 weeks without
It's been a while.
Without a live Cantina Chronicles. I'm a little shaky. It's good to be saddled up on the, bar next to you here at the bar.
Yeah, we
next
warmed
to you.
up with some
Virtual
saga
bar.
talk right away.
All we have to
record.
do
Yeah.
is say The Last Jedi, and then it's an hour of warm-up that just happens.
I was having some behind the scenes.
Great films
difficulties.
spark debate,
Yeah.
I know I need about 10, 15 minutes, so I just said, hey, over the break, I was watching The Last Jedi, and then I just restarted my computer.
Yeah, then you did 10 minutes of technical support, and we didn't even notice. Actually, we all adore that movie, but still love talking about it.
Incredible film.
Lots to talk about with
Grant
that
has
movie.
notes. Good notes, though.
Positive
Solid
notes.
notes. Solid notes.
Yeah.
Solid notes.
Woof. So, yeah, I mean, I want to still cover some new stuff here. We're going to... I think it's a good idea to sort of talk about the year in the whole. That it is kind of nice thing. And sort of, looking back, what do we know now that we didn't know at the beginning of last year? And I wouldn't hate looking forward to 2024 a little bit too. We kind of do that organically all the time anyways. But I don't know. I made a big old list. You want to go through the list? You want to just pull some stuff out? You want to say what's on it? I mean, there was 14 novels that were written last
wild.
year, which is wild.
Yeah.
One was the Mandalorian manga, and then one was the Hunters mobile game book. Did not read that.
Yeah. No, I was the one who I took the hit.
You read that
in this podcast.
Yeah.
I read that one, and I had a 5-minute review. It's a book. It happened for a game that
I think
will,
you reviewed
and I'm
it.
calling
Ben
it.
and I stepped away, and you reviewed it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Then we came.
I will say,
With no spoiler zone.
I'm calling it now. It's a book for a game that will never see the light of day. That game is never happening.
Yeah.
It's never happening. No.
Yeah. Wild. I mean, it's worth reading just for that because it's the gymnastics they had.
So
to do.
weird.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so we did that. We got a AAA video game in Jedi Survivor. That was amazing. We got
incredible.
We got the bulk of High Republic Phase 2. Everything except for one novel. I think a lot of it. Actually, I think we got all 3 novels in 2023.
Well, remember Phase 2, and this is what threw me off, is there were only 2 adult novels. There were only 2, right? Instead
Cataclysm.
of the 3.
Oh, that's right. Path of, and then we got the first novel of Phase 3. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, the first. Yeah, exactly. So Phase 2 is a truncated kind of.
But it was
phase.
Yeah, so we essentially got all of High Republic Phase 2 in 1 year, which was cool. 1 calendar year, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
A bajillion comics. I didn't go through all of them, but I mentioned Hidden Empire was kind of the highlight of this year.
Yeah,
The Blade.
The Blade. I mean, I will talk about. We can talk when we get to comics. My review of last year and probably what's going to be this year of comics, which may not be favorable, but we'll talk about that then. As
we'll call that
the
one
resident,
Adam has notes.
comic nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not bad, but anyway, I hate me a giant crossover that lasts 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here to chat Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna talk about all of it, what we loved and what we hope to see more of, obviously, because we're excited for 2024. I think with what's coming.
Yeah, and this might be the last year for a while of like this much content. Like things are slowing down, right? The
So
tap
that's
is
why I want to
getting
jump into the
slowed down,
media
yeah.
industry and just streaming in general, because I feel like I really want to talk about Disney Plus and sort of what we got this year and sort of what we're getting.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Mando season 3,
yep.
super successful. I think a lot of people watched it.
Yes.
Love
Yeah.
Mando.
Ahsoka, obviously, recently.
Yeah.
The story was just ramping up. It was just getting more and more sort of epic, and we were meeting more and more Mandalorians. And the final, set piece fight is outstanding. I think it was just really, really fun. I could watch the armor like smash people with their hammer.
All day.
Yeah.
Flying
The
through the
jetpack.
air, smashing people with
It's
hammers.
like-
Yeah.
It's a series that while I was watching it, I was lukewarm on. You can go back and listen to our podcast, but I think fondly back to it now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of aged well over the past year of like, yes, super consumable as Mando is. Like Mando is the most consumable Star Wars thing ever.
Even the serialized adventure episodes that sort of are like off the beaten, path of the main story. I feel like even those episodes are just fantastic genre pieces. Like I still think back to, Mando episode 2. I think back to Boba Fett, fighting the sand beast. Like I just think there's so many great things that I think Favreau and Filoni have done.
Yeah, and it very much it was the season of Bo-Katan, right?
Yeah.
Like that was Bo-Katan's thing, and like I just think back to my wife who loves Mandalorian, like really was just like, wait, who's this character? And I'm like, just wait for it, right? I mean, we got a tease of her. In
I
season
bet your
2,
wife would love Bo-Katan. I bet they would hang
Oh,
out
she
all
was
day.
so. I mean, she for a long time that was going to be her Halloween costume if she had time,
nice.
and we didn't have a child that took it. But she was all in on Bo-Katan.
Well, even the episode on Plaisir with the sort of droids making Nepenthe and
Oh right,
With Lizzo
yeah,
and
that was
Jack
just
Black.
such a good, that was such a
Lizzo,
fun
Jack
episode.
Black.
I just
Yeah.
loved that sort of episode.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I love that. I love
Standalone.
that whole Mandalorian season 3 because I called everything that happened the whole season.
You are a Mandalorian.
It was exactly
You're
what I
you're a
expected.
Mandoverse whisperer. It's wild. Yeah.
Yeah. Through a vocoder.
I cannot get behind it. I'm so I'm okay at calling things, but when it comes to the Mandoverse, I cannot.
There's just a mythosaur hovering over Ben's house.
Oh my god.
Honest to God. Yeah.
I mean, I've got my Mandalorian helmet back there. You heard? Of course, Grant has 2 behind him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
With it.
I just remember a lot of tooth and nail fights with you guys over what was going to happen in that series. You had such like hardcore edgelord theories about where it was going, and I loved that. It was a great debate, and it was adorable that you thought that. And then
If I had time and energy, I'd go back and do a clip reel of this because I still remember how much based on the preview and episode 1. I'm like, okay, so this is episode 1, this is episode 2, this is I had broken it down
You had
to
it
all 8
all,
episodes.
What did you think
I
was
was
gonna
just
happen?
blown by episode 2. I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were going to get back to
because it sped
Mandalore till the
up
very end.
really fast. Didn't we see like a
Really
mythosaur in like episode 2 or something?
I
was
think
like,
so.
your
Yeah.
Mandalorian bingo card got blown up. Like everyone's
I
did.
thought Grogu was going to interact with that mythosaur. I was like, someone's going to interact with that thing.
And the whole thing, and like Filoni does this all the time. It's just like, nope, you just see it and you just think about it.
Yep.
It's like it's like the opposite of Chekhov's gun, right? It's just like Filoni's blaster is just like something he shows you, and it's like that was a blaster. It was cool, right? Like like it may pay off in like 2 or 3 seasons, but
and the other thing I love about the season, and it kind of comes down to the old adage of necessity is the mother of all invention, is that I really truly believe the last shot of that season with him sitting at the homestead with Grogu was necessitated from they knew that the strike was going to happen. They knew it was coming. They knew it was down the pike. They knew it was going to shut everything down. They knew it was going to blow up a timeline. So they needed kind of a solid ending to the season that wasn't a big cliffhanger because it might be a couple years. They knew it might be a couple years before we see him again. And that scene I just loved. I love yes, you have earned your rest.
Yes.
Like I love it. I love those moments in movies of just like a character, or it's like Mando and Grogu have earned a year or 2
to chill.
at the homestead to chill, and then we'll pick back up.
And I
with
feel
them.
like us as Star Wars viewers have earned that. It's like so many Jedi taking L's and like so many heroes taking L's. It's like, can we just like win again? Can we just blow up the Death Star and have a medal ceremony and high five and like just like every like at least every 3 years? Can we do that?
Obi-Wan was sort of like a sneaky dub, though. Like Obi-Wan won the day.
Yes.
It was a sneaky dub.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I mean that was. I love that. I love that shot. I know we're slinging back into 2022 for a second, but like, it should be like how Obi-Wan got his groove back. Should be like the subtitle of that series. But I love that. I love that. Like, to be able to connect the dots between how we get to end of episode 3 and Alec Guinness Obi-Wan in episode 4. I just love it. Yeah.
And they did it.
Anyways, this year we got Mando season 3, Bad Batch, like so good. Like maybe
it's such a secret.
It's the top 3 basically. One of those slots. Like I love Bad Batch.
It tricks me every time. It happened to me season 2. I guarantee you it's gonna happen in season 3 because I keep seeing it on an upcoming list. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
That's how I react to every time Bad Batch comes up, and then I'm like 2 episodes. I'm like, oh yeah. This show is like legitimately amazing and is just so wonderful, and I'm so drawn in on all the characters.
Right, like literally no one asked for the series. None people.
No.
Not in the deepest, like darkest crevices of the internet where they're like, they should do a Bad Batch like series.
Yeah, it's like if
no
you
one
like
said
the
that.
politics and the taxation routes and the trade blockades and imperial sort of mishandlings of the law and like just horrific treatment of people, like. Or you want to explore just the darkness of the Empire, like Bad Batch does that.
Yeah.
Like it really gets to the heart of just how horrible this regime is, and sort of Rampart, and sort of the reveal around
The cloning process,
that
Mount
stuff,
Tantus,
yeah.
So,
Mount Tantus is all there. I mean, I will say next to Andor, I think Bad Batch is the darkest.
Yeah.
Star Wars series currently, and that's saying a lot. I mean, though I did rewatch the scene with Vader killing people in that town in Obi-Wan, and that's still like
that might be the darkest scene.
We're going to reflect on Obi-Wan as we talk.
I know it was last year, but that thing I really will argue that is the darkest thing Star Wars has ever done.
Yeah.
When he snaps that kid's neck, it's still oh boy. Anyway, moving on because we're not talking about 2022. But I was gonna say about Bad Batch is like, it just does such a great job of connecting this, and I feel like it's one of those things where Filoni was just like. And I don't think he hardballed it. I think he just said, yes, I will absolutely work on Mando and Ahsoka, and I love all these things, but like my heart is always there's a piece of my heart always for animation. I don't want to see it die. I also want this show. And I think they're like, fine, like absolutely you can have this show. And I think that because there's such little pressure on this show to do anything, really, that it can really shine because it doesn't have a million eyes on it.
So I would call that show connective tissue, right? Like it did all the things that Grant just said it did. It fills in the blanks. It really, shows what it's like to live under the Empire. But a lot of the media have been working on that to be like, sort of like, no, this is why the Empire is bad. But if it was connective tissue, what is it connecting to? Is it the cloning piece?
I think so. I think with the Mount Tantus stuff, it's got to be
Stormtrooper program, sort of the rolling out of that, and then
that's right.
Dispatching of the Kaminoans and sort of covering up of evidence. Like I am obsessed with sort of the conspiracy and Sidious's takeover. That sort of George obviously just we all overtly know about in the prequels, but I feel like there's fun ways you could maybe explore that from different angles, and I feel like that's what Bad Batch is doing. They're sort of exploring the idea that like now you have to cover up the tracks basically and hide that we stole this information,
all the clones,
erase the clones.
That was Adam. That was
something to this show that's like
it was more brutal than I thought it was going to be in some ways. Like I think it was like Plan 99. I think they had all these like order, like the number. They had the number system. And I thought it was going to be a reverse on Order 66, where basically like now the stormtroopers turn on the clones and kill them all, which would be hard to see, but it's more insidious. Of this, just no, we're just going to keep throwing them into the meat grinder until there's none of them left. Like just throw them into these situations where they can't survive. And it's rough. Like watching a couple of those episodes, like oh boy. And the thing is, they have to get rid of almost all of them. Like it has to happen if we're going to live in the universe or the galaxy that they've created for the Age of Rebellion.
Right, and it's developed Tarkin's character We understand his motives and what kind of person he is. It's like if you've read the books, or the book Tarkin, I think that was the very first book of the Disney era, with Lucina. Like that really elucidates who Tarkin is. But this show kind of fills in that too. In case you hadn't read the novels, it's like now you know like what kind of guy that guy is, and so.
Or you understand the hierarchy and sort of how he can just eliminate, a subordinate or officer of lesser rank so easily, basically.
Yep.
And they sort of frame Rampart at the end. It just really watch the show. It's incredible.
Yeah, and allegedly we're gonna get season 3, the final season, next year, which would be amazing.
Yeah, 2024. It seems confirmed.
So I was doing some research today, and all the people prognosticating about 24 and all that, and they're like, everyone's like, well, we were left with a cliffhanger, with our friend Tech, and I don't know if he wasn't hanging on any cliffs last time I saw.
No, he fell down that cliff, but
didn't end.
I will say, I think I went back to it, and I'm a big believer in not dead unless you see a body. Right. And especially in Star Wars. So I really think we're going to get more with that character. I think there's a rescue mission involved with that character. But we'll see. I'm I don't want to say this because it sounds bad because we're talking about a character's death, but I'm good either way. If they end up, there's part of me that respects to be like, if I respect it, they're like, nope, he's dead. He full on splatted on those rocks. Which is, again, real rough to think about in a kid's cartoon.
This
really
is not a kid's cartoon.
No.
This is an adult's cartoon.
Like I watched Bob's Burger with my child today, who's 3.5, and I'm like, this I can watch with my child.
That's a kid's
Bob's
cartoon.
Burgers. I cannot watch Bad Batch with my child.
You watch the racing episode, or
I mean, I could edit.
Certainly.
It'd be like what I do with any Star Wars thing. I would
just pick and choose the ones.
Fast forward.
That would set the tone, like an entirely different tone. If he's dead, this is a very, they had just found a utopia where they could make a new life for themselves.
Right.
And then they were pulled back in, and then they lost another of a very small team. And, then what are they working towards? And, what is their mission about? And I mean, it really does center around another, 8 to 10-year-old girl. And, how does this affect her life and her maturity, and what is she going through like that? I mean, that would be really heavy. If he's alive, it takes on a little different tone, a little lighter tone, I think. But yeah, I mean, could be wild. I mean, I would say 2023 is the year of the female species in Star Wars, in the galaxy far, far away. Like, I mean, you could say the main character of Bad Batch is her. Omega. Thank you.
Omega.
Omega. Ahsoka was all ladies all the time. That was awesome. And then
Bo-Katan was huge. And Mandalorian was like a co-lead.
Co-lead with Mandalorian. Like, really cool female representation all year long. That was fantastic. And I mean, what are the thinking the other things? Yeah. Young Jedi Adventures, we don't really cover that here. It's pretty trivial.
No, I mean, and I will say, as someone who's watched every single episode, because I have a child who's of the right age of that, like there's nothing to cover in terms of they're not building lore.
Yeah.
But like I will always say, if you have a child who's of the age and you want to watch something and you like Star Wars,
it's not like a saga film that should build the lore.
Right.
No, exactly. It's that's not his job. His job is to indoctrinate toddlers into Star Wars, which I'm all for. But like I will say, it did just win 2 Emmy Awards.
Nice.
Which were sound design and music.
Yep, makes sense.
If you watch that show, exactly what it should. The reason I love that show is if usually this only occurs when my child's homesick, I have to stay home, I have to do some work, I'll put something on for her to watch. That's a great background noise for me because I can just sit here and do work and hear all the Star Wars noises and music.
Yeah.
The music in that show, I will say,
fantastic,
is really good. Like I'm really kind of blown away with their use of a lot of the themes and in a way that also is deep. So I'm very impressed by it.
I want to take a music corner minute here. I haven't done it yet, Adam, but you said you'd be interested. I'm going to listen to all, like, over this break. which I still have a few more days left. I'm going to take a day, and I'm going to feel good, and I'm going to listen to all the Star Wars music, and I'm going to make a playlist called Star Wars Slaps. And it's just going to be like actual like songs you can put on that aren't like, scenic and, place setting, but actual like songs that can stand alone as a piece of music that you would listen to. And I'm going to make a full playlist, and I'm going to go through everything and put that together. But I've been doing research. I've got a bunch of things on there already. But I really want to curate it into like a playlist that flows and does interesting things. I mean, the Andor music is so good. It is so
opening title music.
It's so subtle.
And then like 30 pages.
It's so subtle and it's so beautiful. And the Ahsoka music, like the stuff I love from that is like really like atmospheric, like tone music, like real like lo-fi, just like he pulled some selections for those, because they have to curate their own playlists as well. You can't put everything on there. But like some real like minimalist like atmospheric music that I love too, that I think, could fit in fun places. And then you've just got like bangers, like the like.
It had the best vocalized song.
Yeah. The Sabine Wren
like
on the speeder. I forget the name of it. Yeah, like that one.
I do love that.
And it's rare because we've had a lot of attempts, but like this actually sounded incredible.
I get actually.
Yeah.
So there was also a lot of actual songs on the Jedi Survivor playlist as well. I haven't dug into that yet, and I'm not gonna dip too deep into those, though they are the classic ones. I kind of want to stick to like things that showed up in live action. Because that's a little too on the nose. But anyways, I'm gonna do that. Star Wars Slaps. Check it out on Spotify. And hopefully by the new year or shortly thereafter, it'll be complete.
That sounds awesome. Thank you for doing that.
I want it for myself. I just, because like when I get in my car, sometimes I want a thing, and I've got a monster playlist of everything that's not John Williams. No offense to him, but I'm in a more contemporary mood. And so I hit shuffle on that, and that's fun. But
I zone out when I listen to John Williams, and nothing against it, just because I've heard it so many times. It's like when I listen to like some of my favorite like artists. Who are still like I can listen to Eels all day, every day, but I don't listen to them that much because my mind wanders when I hear them, because I've heard them so much.
Yeah, it's the sound of your heart beating.
Focus in on it.
You don't hear it anymore. I feel that way about Primus.
Except for Fresh Feeling by the Eels. I will hear that song every time, and every time it's like the first time I've ever heard it.
Awesome. Sorry, and that concludes Music Corner. But I did want to. I am kind of excited about that project. And doing that.
Nice.
What what do you want to talk about? Visions.
Visions.
We got
Visions.
I mean, talk about something where I was blown away by the first one and thought, okay, that's ballsy. You're gonna make a second one. With less time. Good luck. And I really think, I mean, I had emotional reactions to these, and the first volume is amazing. It's so good, but there are two things in two that made me actively cry and and get upset about the world we live in, which is fascinating. And I still think we need to try to get the person who wrote that one on the podcast at some point. But I got to go back and look up names. So it's the pit. It's the pit one. The one the
pit.
I need to talk to the writer of that. It's one of those things where I just am fascinated where I'm just like, am I interpreting this the way you intended, or did you accidentally make, like, do you know what I mean? Or like, are you writing something that people can put so much onto, which is always one of my favorite things about talking to people who write, is just like, what was your intentions versus what did the world put onto what you did?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I remember
Sorry, the director was Leandre Thomas and Justin Ridge. The writer is Leandre Thomas. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, Leandre Thomas. Thank you for
proper names in there.
Yeah, thank you. We got to look them up. Yeah.
They're
the Bandits of Golak was a pretty good one as well. That's what there's like a civil war and two siblings are like forced to flee their village. It's like really cool information.
Yeah, that's one I need to give a run. A lot of the ways like I imbibe my Star Wars is to give it time. I need to sort of forget and then go back and like kind of have a
Yeah,
pretty clean palette, which is obviously tough to do with the originals and the whole Skywalker saga. But if I've got to give it a year, I give it a year. But Visions, I think I could definitely give another run through, and it'll feel fresh, and I'll find new things.
It's also so weird, like not to get all, I mean, reflexive, but hey,
That's what
it
we're
is
doing.
our New Year's thing. But like personally reflective, I just think of how much my life has changed, and just even since we started the podcast versus even prior to the podcast, where like I worked at I mean, I've talked about this where I've worked at a video. I know for a fact Star Wars: A New Hope is the movie I've seen the most, and I've seen it probably over 1,000 times. And the only reason I can say that is because I worked at a video store and I played those movies on a loop.
Yeah.
In the background. And so like it's weird to think that there was a time in my life when I watched Star Wars at least 6 times a week based on right?
It's incredible.
Like, that's weird. And now I'm like, I can't even find an hour in the week to watch a Star Wars. Like it's just funny how those things change, right? And now there's also so much content where I'm just like I can't imagine what this would have done to my life if this is what it was when I was in my 20s. Is I would just sat at home and watched all this stuff on a loop over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That's all.
Being a dad.
Life's funny. That's great. It's wonderful, but it's so weird how it's just like I forgot these things happened. I'm like, I have to rewatch that. I don't know when I'll rewatch that.
Right.
Yeah, Visions season 2. Incredible work.
Yeah.
So good. Also, was Tales of the Jedi this year?
Yes. No.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
Wait,
Right at the beginning.
Wow. It wasn't on my list, but it was on.
It was one of the first things.
Yeah.
That maybe
I
dropped.
thought it was this year, but I could be wrong. It might have been right at the tail
Maybe
end.
I accidentally deleted some stuff. I'm pretty sure Tales of the Jedi was this year. I know.
So
I know.
good.
Tales
That was-
2 is coming next year.
Yeah. No, Tales of the Jedi says 2022. It was October 2022.
Okay, so it wasn't. All right.
Ignore it. We'll talk more about upcoming in a moment. I just couldn't remember.
Yeah.
It's just so. That seems like it was this year. That to me is wild. That was
Yeah.
almost
Felt like it was.
Yeah.
the beginning.
And so, of course, I guess the last big thing that we saw on Disney Plus was Ahsoka.
Yeah.
We spoken
Yeah.
at length about that through October and November.
Yeah, fairly recently. Ultimate Star Wars. I will always argue it's Ultimate Star Wars.
Yeah, the most Star Wars
Yeah.
Star Wars
Star Wars
one could
thing.
Star Wars.
I will say what I've been enjoying about it is now that the strike is over, how like watching all of them talk, being able to talk about their experiences and seeing how much all of the actors and people working together seem to really like each other and really spend a lot like it seemed like a really great environment for everyone involved there. And watching like Rosario Dawson really, I mean, she did some pre-tape stuff before the strike, but watching her really talk about how important this mantle is, but also how much she just enjoyed doing this and how she just plans to always be Ahsoka for the rest of her life is kind of wonderful to hear.
Oh,
Yeah. They had a great time making that. You can just tell.
Yeah.
I did notice a really interesting comp, which is I was watching Fellowship the other day.
Ooh, interesting.
And
Go on.
Galadriel's sort of walking around, and after she meets Kate Blanchett is obviously playing Galadriel
obviously.
magnificently in the first installment of Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings trilogy. And she when she first meets Frodo, she's sort of like walking around smirking, and I'm like, where have I seen this sort of body language and this sort of acting style? Like, oh, it's Ahsoka. And I just please watch Fellowship and look at sort of like what Kate Blanchett's doing in
interesting.
the film, and then look at
I
Ahsoka.
really
And
that's
I think
fascinating.
they'll do it a little differently now. And so now this film, like I think we rated it like an 8 out of 10 when we were first talking about it. We were like, it's incredible. It's just, I think we just, I don't know. We loved it. We just weren't. I don't know.
Well, the landings are
jumping
rough.
over
Endings
ourselves
are
before
tough,
Ahsoka.
right? Yeah.
We loved it. We liked it.
No, it's fantastic. I love that, Grant. We've
Yes,
been
me
calling
too.
her Gandalf, like Rosario Dawson / Ahsoka Gandalf this whole time, but like Galadriel is a much more intriguing like comp and direction for her. Like the Ring of how she has to deny the Ring of Power.
Yeah, I always think of that scene.
self-test.
It's so well done where she just you can see her like her wickedness if she took that ring. Yeah.
And I mean, it would be fun to get. I think the time's passed, but like a dark Ahsoka, like Ahsoka, like being like having a moment where she's like, "What if I have to be like my master? And what if I have to go to the dark side to get the things accomplished or something?" And then just like coming to terms with how powerful she'd be and being like, no, that's not the
What
right
we
thing.
didn't get in this season that we'd predicted, or that we were told through the internet, so lies, but we were led to believe that the series was going to be half flashbacks, half moving forward. I'm very glad it wasn't.
Yeah.
I really like that it was all moving forward, but part of me wonders is you could still tell that story in a flashback. That's part of why, because we don't know why we get Ahsoka as we get her, when we get her in Mando, right? That something has happened there, more than just, I think, losing her Padawan. And so we could get a story that shows her, toying with the dark side a little bit.
I mean, and maybe, they're headed towards the font of Force power again, right? So, and there's a lot of empty seats there, and they're not all great. So, there could be a reckoning there for her. I mean, not that it's a necessary thing, but I just think, the white Gandalf is like a great, thing. Gandalf the White is a great idea, but, and now you get that reference, Adam, because you finally read Two Towers. Thank you.
Yes, I also watched the movies a million times,
all right,
so I got it. But no, but it is. But I do get it. In a deeper sense.
I couldn't miss a dig there.
I just want to say, I'm not ignorant of the pop culture, but I felt like I've read the crib notes. Right. To now that I've read 2 out of 3, I feel like I got it. Got the Silmarillion from my brother-in-law for Christmas, so I got that waiting on my shelf.
All right.
A kind of a related question is, since we're talking about like the TV's movies, live action. I mean, no movies, but live action. It's like, did anyone? And this is, you can answer this as a real question or just take it as is. Did anyone in Star Wars have a better year than Hayden Christensen in terms of an actor?
I mean, it was a victory lap, really.
I cut off Obi in 2022, where he crushes.
Yeah,
and then gets called off the bench to do more. I in some ways say more acting in Ahsoka. He was great in Obi-Wan, but he had, in terms of out of makeup, not being Vader, he had a 2-minute scene, right?
It's also cool to see Anakin with his Padawan during the Clone Wars, like that flashback scene when it's young Ahsoka and they're fighting in the fog of war. That was just such a fun moment, and I was like, oh, it's bringing to life the sort of the Clone Wars story that I think we've never really been able to, distill or crystallize in the mind of fans, because I think a lot of people just didn't watch sort of the animated shows and things like that. And so it was fun to actually get that imagery in live action, and sort of you can watch, those flashbacks and watch the prequels and get a whole new sort of appreciation for everything they're doing with Hayden in those films. When you see sort of hey, some war footage, here's some war footage of Anakin, and now we have that to take in before you watch Revenge of the Sith, where that turn can sometimes seem quite fast and sort of quick to be deployed. Whereas if you add a lot of this stuff, it might help.
Yeah, he was able to stretch some muscles. I will say, I know this is a bit outside of Star Wars, but the kind of a news report surrounding is he, after Ahsoka, signed with his old talent agency and manager, right?
And he was vocally I'd love to do more Star Wars. Let's go.
Yeah, more Star Wars, more everything. I mean, he did do that movie Little Italy. Don't look it up. Last year or the year before.
Oh, okay. So you're saying he was not working and now he's working again?
Not really. He was not he wasn't totally out of it, but he was B-movie backbench. I mean, Little Italy also had an actress in it, so it's not an unknown. But it's a romantic comedy about Little Italy in Canada. It is a.
Well, I think you're quite pretty, eh? You want to go get a cannoli or something?
It is, if you're looking for a good bad movie to watch, that's a great, if you're enhanced in some way and want to watch something and kind of be what is this? It's a great movie to watch. Thankfully not with anything that Hayden did.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't his fault, but boy.
The whole time I'd watch it, I'd be like, where's the lightsaber? Anakin Skywalker. You should pull out your lightsaber.
Glad,
You're the chosen one.
I know. But I'm very happy for him, and I want to see more Anakin, and again to be able to do stuff that makes me say I want to see Hayden Christensen do more in Star Wars.
Yeah,
says a lot, right?
He could do a lot more in Ahsoka season 2, right? Because I mean, there's already some nether realm of the Force Anakin stuff
Let's
in
go.
that show that I'm sure you could extrapolate on.
Co-lead
Yeah.
Anakin. I want to see him
Well-
all over that spot. That would be so
That's the other
fun.
thing is not to get too.
This is something I did with the sequel trilogy, by the way,
Yeah,
and I do not want to get my hopes up for
But here's the thing.
Afterworld Netherrealm.
There was no way they were going to roll the dice and bring back Hayden Christensen on a multi-million-dollar franchise movie, right? Like without testing him.
Yeah.
So I
would have.
Grant would have.
I just want to say
He's an incredible actor. If you actually look at his
he
body
is.
work,
He is. But like to hang it and also be like, if he does not knock this out of the park, if there's like one,
I'm a James Earl Jones.
if there's
nut,
no,
so,
but if there's one sentence that's slightly off, we are going to be just boiled to death on the internet, right? Like they're just looking to memify anything. So it makes sense. I mean, I think you could see him now. I like him, but that's the reality of the
Wait,
internet.
is this a business strategy?
Oh,
Come on,
avoiding memes.
This is what I do. Yes, it is, right? Like to like, but what I was gonna say is that like I feel that like, and not to get morbid, but with Ray Stevenson's passing, right? Like they gotta fill that hole somewhere. We saw them kind of steering into the Mortis arc, right? And like I think we kind of maybe thought what they were gonna do with Ray, and maybe if it's not there, they now have Anakin, right? And so
I wanted to.
by the way, I just want to say one of our listeners, Travis, is with us.
What's up, Travis?
He has me backed up for Little Italy. Said it was not one of the highlights of his career.
Noted. Noted.
Yeah.
I'm. Thank you for experiencing that for us.
Yeah.
I need to know about these.
Yeah. I want to say something about. I want to talk about Ray Stevenson. I know it's an awful subject. But
Yeah.
He's just so amazing, and everything I've read since then about like how much he loved that character and how much he would have loved the reception his character got. I mean, he killed it. We have to move on, and we're just talking in Star Wars parameters here. I'm not trying to be unhuman here. We obviously we love this dude, and it's a shame.
It's incredibly sad.
Yeah. For all the human real world issues like that, that's a given.
So young, so talented.
Yeah.
One of the geniuses out
I want
there.
to talk about Star Wars.
This character is just,
it's so good.
Like outstanding.
So I've started to see online some people petitioning to recast him because the character is so good that he created. And I mean, it would be hard, but it wouldn't be impossible. And I wanted to know what you guys thought about that.
I don't know why you couldn't just do a wide shot where he does something and it's just CG, and then that's sort of like whatever cataclysmic or epic moment that is with the font of power, sort of that maybe changes him or something, and then it's like a thing. Or
so you want to write him into a new person?
There's ways to
I mean, you could
do it where you still honor the character, and he's never.
Yeah. If you're dealing with dark side-ish, you can always go the route of he took on too much power, he's damaged, he has to put a mask on. You mask him up, right? You can mask him up. That's about the only way I would do it. Here's the thing. We talked a bit about this, I think, when we were talking about Rise of Skywalker and what to do about Carrie Fisher. This is unfortunately not the first time we as a podcast or as a fandom have had to talk about what do we do about a major character
passed away,
the actor passing away. And we had talked about possibly recasting, and part of that is just like, personally, I don't have an ethical issue with it. I don't have necessarily a problem with that if that's character's really important. I just myself have trouble taking myself out of it going the entire time going, that's the new character. I gotta say, I also have an issue with that when they do the CGI trick like Carrie Fisher in episode 9. I still cannot watch that movie without going, what scene did they take this from? How did they composite this in? That's my problem. I understand. But
I think it's a lot of people's problem, honestly. I think those scenes you just feel like
you get taken out of it.
There's a cut and paste element to those scenes that are just sort of like, oh, the actors are just sort of, this is all we can say in this moment because this is the footage we have.
It's too limiting.
Like it's so constrained in that regard.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of camp stuff that I question in that film, among many other things.
I mean, if you could write him into a new character or new actor, I think that probably would be preferable. You could do something where it's like, I'll grant you one wish, and you like AI deepfake him until he gets to the mouth of the cave, and he's like, I wish to be young again, right? So we get him in his prime at like 25 or something, or whatever age he picks, and then you pick a young actor. Like there's ways to do that. It's gonna feel it's going to feel forced no matter what they do if they do it that way.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like recasting is at least honest. It's just like, we just recast him, deal with it. You know, that's what, you know, they did that in Game of Thrones with a couple characters, and
they did it in Harry Potter.
Did it in Harry Potter. Yeah. So they, I don't know what you're referring to, but I trust you.
Like they did with Dumbledore, which is the main character. The main actor passed away, and they had the recast. Yeah, Dumbledore is recast like third or fourth in, and
I had no idea.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, it's also a ton of makeup, but like those characters those actors are both do such a great job with that character. Yeah. But what I'll say is just like I part of me is like what I don't want to necessarily see, which is what I suggested earlier, is that like if the outline is written and it is the best possible way to tell that story,
yeah,
I don't want them having to pull turn hard left or turn hard right to accommodate the fact that they don't have this actor. And like, you know, we can talk about who we want to cast. I just want, again, Travis is talking in chat.
Good.
And he
Travis.
has floated the thought that, you know, we've seen online that I also, if you're going to recast, I also agree with the big Liev Schreiber push. I like Liev Schreiber a lot.
Is that who Travis mentioned?
I think, yeah, Travis mentioned that. He wanted to see him as Agent Callus, which I think is also a great call. If you do live action Agent Callus, but if not,
Callus,
like he'd be okay. He'd be an okay fit as Balin, and I think that is a character that has a similar gravitas.
Yeah, I mean the thing when you get the like platinum gray, you know, silver hair, and you get the haircut right, and you get the beard full, there's, you know, you can get a white guy a certain age. We all look the same, so it would work.
Yeah, and you could do a bit of Travis mentioned too, which is like when he first saw Rogue One, he thought it was going to be like when they did Tarkin, they thought they were going to obscure and do reflection, which is a creative way to do it. So you could do something similar where you're not totally focused on his face constantly. But
that's how I thought they were going to do Tarkin too, which was from the back, or like only like sort of in shadow and silhouette, you know, just alluding to it.
Did your audience gasp when they showed full Tarkin?
Yeah. And
my audience gasped.
Yeah,
they were audible.
I audibly gasped. I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
You know, all right.
Here, take a breath.
I just had a very an interesting conversation this afternoon with my band, actually talking about AI and using AI to create art. And is it wrong? Because some people think it's literally the devil, and it's the worst thing ever. And I have my own opinions, but I mean, deepfakes, AI, it's all there. It is an option. I think it honors the actor more if a new actor comes in and tries to honor the character that was created by Ray Stevenson, personally. But what are your guys' thoughts on AI, like deepfake technology?
Well, I mean,
in this circumstance,
okay,
not generally.
Thank you for keeping
in
it.
art,
yeah.
in art, and specifically to make this kind of art.
In this one, part of me is like, I don't know. I agree with you. I feel like there's something soulless about using the AI to try to like pay homage to this character. And I also, my other thought about it is technologically is even there, because like for AI to work properly, they have to scrub so many hours of footage, and like him as Balin Skull, we get an hour maybe of footage. I guess you could do other Ray Stevenson stuff, but then it's just like, I don't know.
I just feel like where we're at, it's going to distract you, and I would ward against it, just given that I think it's a little too distracting. I think what Star Wars does best is sort of try to keep a lot of stuff in camera and be practical.
I mean,
and
just
when you have these characters that are just full blown CGI, it can really distract the audience. And I think I would be one of those people who's slightly distracted.
Oh, I couldn't. I would never be able to see it otherwise. I mean, look at what they did with Luke at the end of season 2 of Mando, right? And that wasn't AI, but that was, I mean, they fixed it in Book of Boba Fett, but boy, was that rough when that happened.
Yeah, the episode of Book of Boba Fett's actually pretty outstanding in terms of doing the deep fake sort of young Hamill stuff. But
I couldn't.
It's broad daylight. Like, it's not too distracting. It's pretty good.
I couldn't really buy into I couldn't buy into the deep faking Luke. It took me out of it a little bit. Like, it just didn't look like Mark Hamill at any.
It's the mouth and the eyes are always rough.
What about the physicality of Ray Stevenson? We haven't even really talked about that. That how do you duplicate that? I mean,
listen, professional
such
actors,
an imposing figure, such a powerful.
That's why I think we come back to like someone like you needed actors like that. Like Liev Schreiber is a hulking.
Yeah, he's a tall dude.
Man, like he is a big he reminds me of Ray Stevenson physically. That's why I kind of kept going back to him, like the physicality.
Okay, it's a good pick.
I'm not trying to like oversell it. It's not gonna. It's also not gonna happen because the internet has gotten so hard on it that they're just like, we can't do it because we don't want to look like we're listening to the internet.
The internet went hard on Rosario Dawson too. I think, like,
that's true.
They were.
You don't feel like there was a weird hinge at the end of that to put Shin Hati on the planet? Like, I felt like
there was some editing tricks going on there.
Sort of like maybe she wasn't supposed.
She was not.
Yeah, she wasn't
really
supposed to be
think
there.
She was supposed to be there. No, it seemed weird because
we all felt that. And
yes.
We were like, oh, okay. So Shin Hati is basically probably going to, fulfill whatever Balin's going to do, right? Like,
I think that's their.
Maybe that's just the way you do it.
I think, which I like. I like that character, but boy, did that ending feel like she was supposed to be Thrawn's right hand, force user, and Carly was just like. Wait, what? Why is she still on the planet? That's not what was supposed to happen. I'm like, no, I don't think it was.
Yeah,
Bailey explicitly tells her like her destiny lies in the known galaxy or whatever. And I was like, okay.
Right, and then she doesn't go, which is captivating. And I think that's where we landed when we covered that episode, was sort of like Shin Hati's there for a reason. And I mean, maybe something could befall Balin Skull in like the first act of the first episode, and and Shin Hati's there to sort of, but you still need someone to sort of play that character to pass the baton for the plot line onto Shin Hati. And I mean, I don't.
I mean, they could very much just go, he's missing. Like he walks in and walks into whatever, thing is there, and it's gone. And Shin Hati feels the loss of him in the Force, right? You always have that cheat with Force users. Balin is no more what happened. I need to go find out what happened. Yeah. Ahsoka feels it. They all feel in the Force. They all go to find out what happened. Bop, 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 bop.
Yeah. Yeah. Could do that as well.
Looking forward to it.
Anyways.
Ahsoka season 2.
I did want to raise that.
Coming at some point, maybe.
Yeah. Indeed. All right.
Is that it for Disney Plus, right? So Disney Plus, Star Wars, the future of Star Wars on Disney Plus is looking pretty strong. I mean, we like
do you want to talk 2024 real quick to see where it's going?
I do. I was gonna say let's break it down by like instead of waiting at the very end, let's talk about like live action cartoon, like Disney Plus 2024. What's going on? What are we looking forward to? Yeah.
I mean, so Skeleton Crew could be the first thing. We don't know. That's John Watts series.
I think so.
Jude Law, right? It's like they have like 4 child actors that are in that, and they're trying to get back to wherever they're trying to get back to, and Jude Law is helping them. Amblin Entertainment, sort of space galloping adventure with Jude Law as a force wielder. That sounds
so we're told.
That sounds amazing, right? That could be next thing. I mean, I don't know if we want to go through all the, like, do you want to list them and talk about them, or do you want to talk about them?
Maybe as they come, because I don't know how much we've talked a lot about before, but the thing I'm excited about that is that's the one I, in some ways, have the least expectations about, or even understanding of where it could possibly. We know it's Mandoverse. I just have no idea where it's going to tie in, and part of me is looking forward to it because it seems pretty standalone.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of looking for something that is a little standalone, and we'll see these. I mean, everything. Part of what happened with Mando and Ahsoka is I started to possibly see where the pieces are moving and where Boba Fett fits in for the movie of just like how you pulled together.
Sounds like it was like a pitch, like a Goonies-esque pitch about like kids pirate adventure sort of story.
Yeah,
because that could be really great, honestly, with this in the Star Wars galaxy with all the ships and
the landscapes,
hyperspace travel. And
they have
landscapes,
the monsters and the creatures, right? Like it could just be like you're on a planet and you got to get off the planet and there's creatures
and pure family fun.
Just
a great viewing for the whole family.
That's what I'm imagining for that bad boy there. And like Jude Law, that's just a dub.
What a winner.
Yeah, it's just
we were just watching something with him, and I'm like, oh, that's right. He's gonna be in.
They're like Star Wars plus Jude Law. Everyone was like clapping.
Yes, exactly. Sold. No more information needed.
Yeah.
I will say. Oh, we were watching. That's right. We were watching the What If season 2. Jude Law pops up in that. Yeah. We're way behind, but we watched the first 4. But I will say that with in terms of that, I think that's gonna premiere on the earlier side. I think they're waiting because they like to wait to announce stuff after the last things happened, and I think they're trying to focus on the Echo show, the Echo Marvel show that's dropping
That's right.
next week, and I'm guessing after that drops, we'll get a Skeleton Crew coming. I'm gonna guess March. I'm gonna go with March as my gut.
Okay. Love that. Would love to see that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we already talked about Bad Batch season 3. That's on the slate. That should be exciting and terrifying and enthralling in a secret way.
Yeah, and final season, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
it.
I love
That's
that
it.
he's like,
Yep.
nope, that's going to be it. This is going to be the arc. And like Adam had said, years ago, it was going to be about the clones handing off to the stormtroopers, which is a wild premise for a show, but here we are. Really cool. Then the big one for me is the Acolyte, Leslie Headland's tail end of the High Republic dark side adventure.
Can I pause?
Sure.
Breaking news
All right.
from the person that's on our chat.
Foreign correspondent.
Yeah, like seriously. Again, we'll take everything with a grain of salt, which he says as well. But so he said he had a friend who did concept art for the Willow show.
Oh yeah, loved it with our boy Kasdan.
Yeah, John Kasdan, and
we had great things to say about Willow.
So again, this is like a game of telephone, but he said that his friend said that Skeleton Crew was pitched as a sequel to The Last Jedi, focusing on those kids, but it ended up getting changed at the end.
Oh.
Which is like
that's fantastic.
I totally buy it.
Yeah.
Now that you said that, never thought. I'm like, oh, that's right. We never did see what happened to those kids.
Broom Boy.
We knew we never would, but Broom Boy, right? So fascinating.
Yeah.
If they just but they wanted everything to be in the era of the Mando show, so it makes sense that they kind of refit it probably to be that. Anyway, sorry, couldn't help it.
No, I mean that makes a lot of sense to me. Love it or hate it, I actually kind of love it. Like Kathleen Kennedy makes things make sense. She has, she kept the story group for a reason. It's just like she's organizing the stuff to make sense and to feed the larger story. And it's like, would I have loved the Broom Boy story? Probably. But they're like, no, she's like, I love the story. You did all the work. You did great stuff, but let's put it in a different era and have it add to this other story.
We'll see them at Ray's Academy.
I mean, if we got a Broom Boy story and we didn't get explicit evidence that ties some other characters to major characters before that story, I'd be like, I still have questions lingering from the sequel trilogy is all I'm saying. I feel like
this is not going to be a Last Jedi podcast.
It was cleanly told, and there are no dangling threads whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, but it can be a parable that applies to Broom Boy and whatever later. It's like, this is a story that happened. These are the sort of things that went on for Force sensitives in a non-Jedi friendly world. I mean, that is a very important story, I think, to tell. It's sort of like, okay, there's still people that can use the Force, but there's no Jedi to teach them. So what work? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, that's fascinating to have this sort of person who's not indoctrinated with the Jedi Order, or the Sith in any way, and sort of their awakening with the Force and what they do with that power and how they use it with their friends. And when their friends are in jeopardy, of course, they're going to use that power. I see almost Stranger Things-esque formula you can deploy there, wherein one of the kids is Force sensitive, right? Yeah. Has powers.
The font is actually very Stranger Things too.
There's a Stranger Things vibe to that. It's almost like we need a Stranger Things skeleton.
Yeah. Especially that everyone in Stranger Things is now 37.
And so we got it in the first, the Jedi Fallen Order video game. We know that one former Jedi was like, someone needs to take care of the kids. We need to find them. We need to bring them together, and we need to do whatever. And Sarah Junda was going from a very macro level, trying to find the sort of font of knowledge, this data cube that would do it. But maybe there's some people doing it in a more organic way. This is my new favorite flavor of Jedi. Is just Jedi that just step into a community and do the best they can.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite thing.
See a problem, fix a problem.
Yeah.
Solve a problem.
Exactly.
Problem-oriented Jediing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can't fix a galaxy, but you can just do the best you can wherever you
fix
are.
a problem.
Yeah, and let the Force guide you, to wherever you need to go. And I bet there's a bunch of other Jedi.
Who's the Jedi we're talking about?
Well, I think Jude Law, is that?
Is he a Jedi?
Yes, I think he is. He's
not like DJ with the Force or something.
Here we go.
That's my read of his character.
I think he's see, if it wasn't for Kumail and
Obi-Wan.
in Obi-Wan, I really thought he would be like a huckster who just was
He looks
fake,
like a
fake
bard
using
or
the Force,
something.
but
Like,
I don't know now.
what he is, but it's just.
I thought he would be more like a what's his name? Fox? Geode's pilot. What's his name?
Oh, Leon.
Leox.
Oh, Leox.
I thought
yeah.
he was just kind of like a Leox type guy. That was going to be my bet for, sort of fast and loose scoundrel. That's just, but actually, well,
I'm hoping he's like a treasure hunter. If we're talking Goonies here, like maybe he's
Yeah.
a treasure hunter. Maybe this is a treasure hunt in Hutt space or pirate space of the pirate nations, and we have Gorian Shard out there, right, set up in Mando season 3.
Yep.
Almost like we're gonna maybe see that ship again.
What's her name? Oh my God, I'm sorry, my brain is just like not working. Takodana Maz Kanata. Maz Kanata's out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's maybe a pirate queen. Maybe she's just in her castle.
That would actually be incredible if like the quest almost comes from Maz to find some treasure.
Yeah.
She's Lupita Nyong'o is just incredible.
Yeah. That's a great character. They've used her a lot in the comics, but I feel like you could use her in live action to great effect, to be the wizened mentor to certain people. And
that show's coming. Can't wait for Skeleton Crew.
Sorry. So then Acolyte. Anyways, we were gonna move on to that.
Oh, Acolyte. Yeah, this is all of our most anticipated show, right?
Yeah, especially after Rise of the Red Blade, which is another novel that came out this past year that is fantastic, and they actually did the dark side writing justice, I think.
Yes.
I think that's probably the hardest thing to do in Star Wars is to create a reasonable tale for a person that does bad things. And this sort of that fall to darkness. We saw it with Anakin to an extent, but in a different setting in this time period, it's fascinating because we assume that the Sith are threadbare. They don't have no seat of power. They're not doing anything. So, I have to believe it's going to feed into the Sith a little bit, and how is that going to work? And
I think the other thing it does, and we'll talk about some of the books, is it seems to be. I mean, this is for those of our viewers who don't know, but I'm guessing you do. It is at the tailor end of the High Republic, so it's going to take place kind of well after the books. But
we do know Keeve Trennis is going to be in it.
Wait.
Or Vernestra Rose.
Trennis is going to be Vernestra Rose, but we don't. Right, but Vernestra Rose is an alien, right? So I wonder if
she's a Miralon.
Yeah, so she could have
longer life,
slower, longer life story. But part of me is just we've been talking about how in Phase 3 of the High Republic, which we'll get to when we cover books, we expect to see a Sith reveal at some point, right? Or at least dark side reveal. Yeah. And I think
we've been hoping for that.
I'm hoping. I'm going to say expect. But if they don't, it's not going to be ruined. I'd be shocked if they didn't. And I feel like, especially now we know the Acolyte is steeped in the dark side and the Sith. It'd be weird to have that show, which is advertising its connection to the High Republic, right? It's not saying it's the same thing, but it's taking place with the same characters. That it'd be shocking not to set that up in the books somehow.
Yeah. We're getting that slow drip now too. We got the Aslan Rel character, who's sort of a fallen Jedi, a heretic. Many of the Jedi Masters will say. That's sort of signifying new territory. He must have delved into the dark side elsewhere in the galaxy. Yeah. Could we be getting into some Dark Lords? Could we get into the Acolytes, the Sith Eternal? Could that be a thing, basically? Could that be a contingent of sort of followers more than just Dark Lords in hiding? You know what I mean? Are there more machinations to whatever this person's an acolyte of? It's not just... Because it's hard for me to think this is going to be a character who's the acolyte of a singular Dark Lord. I
think it's part of a system.
That's just not what I think this show is going to be.
I think it's going to be a low level part of a system. What is the lowest level of Scientology? Right. They don't know that Xenu's a thing yet, right? They haven't been told about Xenu yet.
Yeah, I mean that's what Acolyte kind of says. It's funny because I think the same thing, and therefore I think we must be wrong.
Is part of it though?
If we all think the same thing for no reason, I don't know.
Well, is part of it that this character discovers like, because being sold on the dark side, it might be pretty easy when you're not talking about evil and machinations and domination, but about connecting to your feelings, using your feelings for power, right? Like all of the things that cult sells you on, and somewhere along the line, I don't even know what the main character is, but I do know the actor. It's an actress, right? It's a woman. So I'm gonna say she, or they discover at some point the secret of the Sith, right? And that might be what it sets this character's journey on the path of like, oh wait, I didn't know I was like part of this thing where these people are like want to kill everyone and conquer the galaxy. That might be where we get this, right? That she discovers the Sith.
Yeah, interesting. And there's a ton of Jedi in it too, so it's obviously going to have some. Wow, Rebecca Henderson is Vernestra Rowe. Wild. Jodie. So I'm looking at the cast, and there's like Junis Sutamo is in there as
is the Wookiee, right? Is the Wookiee character. So, get Judas to do
Kel Naka is the his name's Kel Naka,
no,
allegedly.
I wish it's not.
Yeah.
I know.
Charlie Barnett, Manny Jacinto, Lee Jung Jae is a Jedi Master. Carrie-Anne Moss is a Jedi Master or a Jedi.
Love it. We need more Carrie-Anne Moss. I mean, say what you will about Matrix 4. I will say thank you for more Carrie-Anne Moss in my life.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Amandla Stenberg, Daphne Keene, Jodie Turner-Smith. Yeah, I don't know. They're great.
All right. Sounds like a lot of familiar names.
Yeah, so you've got, a lot of Jedi. They're being very coy. It's not going to be like the Acolyte stuff is played by, and Darth Tenebris is played by.
No, I do wonder if there's a sort of fallen Jedi happening as well in this story.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been calling that for a while.
Yeah. I mean, again, we'll get to the books, but I think we're going to see some of that coming up.
Yeah. In High Republic, in the Phase 3.
High Republic.
So we have a really fun thing, a precedent happening here, where it seems like we're delving into the Sith this is what's so tantalizing and exciting for me, which is I feel like we're finally sort of exploring the Sith and where the Sith are going to take place in the canon, basically what their legacy is going to be in the actual canon. Seems like something that's starting to unfold here. And maybe that's the next 10 years of Star Wars. Maybe that's the next 20 years of Star Wars. Maybe the Sith can give you the juice, the fuel you need to sort of like bring back the brand. And I do think the Acolyte has to hit. And I do think sort of whatever the High Republic's major reveal is at the very end of these novels has to hit in a way that feels like organic to what we know about the Sith.
I think you made a really good point. I think a lot is hinging on the Acolyte. A lot. It's not even just High Republic stuff. And Travis mentioned in chat about how like he's enjoyed what he's read, but like it's hard to connect when it's literature only, right? And you haven't seen these people in live action. I think adding these characters, as he mentioned, kind of will kind of connect everything. And that's part of it, is that like I think they can take a flyer on these books because books are lost leaders, to be frank. Like they're not looking to make a profit on the comics of the books. They're there. They get people. They see Star Wars. They go into the bookstore. They see Star Wars. They go into the comic book shop. They see Star Wars. They think to go watch a Star Wars. This might, as he mentioned, as we're talking about, drive people back to see those books. But the other thing I think it's really doing, if it succeeds, and this is not to put too much pressure on Leslie Headland and others, is that like this is the first show we are getting that is truly outside the timeline of any of the movies. Every other show has been within the timelines of the movies in some way.
Yeah.
And this is the first thing going back. And this is going to, I'm very nervous about reactionary producing, but that's the reality of how things are produced in Hollywood, especially post-strike, is that if this thing doesn't succeed, there's part of me is like, bye-bye the Dawn of the Jedi movie.
Oh,
there's part of me that gets real scared about that.
Well, I mean, I'd prefer to not get too deep into the business. You're not wrong, Adam. You're not wrong. And
you still want to think about it.
I've spent most of my the past 10 years just trying to ignore calls like that. You know, when Solo didn't do well, I was like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. But we never got
what happened?
We never got more of the Soloverse, right? And it was like
no movies outside of the saga.
Yeah. And so they had to rethink. So what you're saying is absolutely correct. But I think there's a lot to
I
be
think those
said.
movies are already too far along. Not far along, but I think like the Dawn of the Jedi movie
That's a
seems like
strategic play.
everything's aligning to do it.
Yeah.
That to backpedal on
I
that
hope
would
so.
be really
Yeah.
tough. I think
Well,
at
we
this
know
point.
Iger has been sorry every time I hear say his name now. That he is all about movies now. It's movies, right? So I hope you're right. I think that's a good point.
There's been some news I saw today actually about like there's been like Paramount and Disney was named and like are thinking about combining forces on the video on demand because they've all been struggling. Which is not a good sign for these things going forward. But
I think Paramount's looking for someone to buy or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I don't know why they ever thought they would survive. They're not big enough. Yeah.
IP. I mean, Disney. I like their business model, and I hope they stick with it. But again, Bob Iger, something. But I want to see what Grant was just talking about, where there's like we get 10 years of Sith stories, and personally, it's not a sexy story, but like, what about the opposite side of the Yoda coin? Like, what about the Sith Master? Because we know there is a lineage from Darth Bane all the way to Darth Sidious. Because otherwise, it wouldn't exist. There's at least two. So it's like
that's the thing. It's also a
who's the Darth the Darth whatever the Sith in hiding that's just biding his time, waiting for his moment. And what are they doing? And like I would love that story. I want to know what's up with that. And I'd love to flesh out. It's like 1,000 years. It's literally 1,000 years where we don't really know. And like, they haven't canonized Plagueis yet. That would fill up another 100 or so years, maybe 200, because you got Tenebris before Plagueis. But, and I think Tenebris makes a lot of sense to put in this show. But it's like, who came before them?
The
and
thing
why
is,
are
when
they,
you
what have they
introduce
been doing?
Sith Lords, you're going to have to wrap a theme around them. They're going to have to come back and sort of dominate what the entire story of a film is about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, however you're going to explore the Sith, like however you explore these dark lords of the past, there has to be some sort of compelling narrative around that. I wouldn't be surprised if it sort of leans on the Vader Luke stuff we've seen already, and Rey and the Kylo stuff, where it's sort of this battling with the dark side and sort of it's subsuming them, or something like that. But it's like there's human elements to these dark characters that you could bring in and sort of explore, and obviously there's sort of Shakespearean operatic things you can do and mythical things you can do with these characters. So it's going to be tough bringing them in, and that's I think what I'm thinking about the most. Like, what is the villain of back then?
Yeah.
What is the villain in the far future? Like, what are we dealing with?
Well,
what are they? Who are these characters?
I think the limiting factor is the Ki-Adi-Mundi paradox, right? Like, or the Ki-Adi-Mundi problem. Which is,
you have to.
They can't be seen by a Jedi for 1,000 years, so they have to do something, but they can't be seen by a Jedi. And it's like, so you could do these insipid power plays, but like the mastermind can never fully reveal himself to the Jedi yet.
I thought the Plagueis novel is so brilliant because it's just a lot of like, back of the house deals, with the banking guild and sort of the corporate alliance and things like that. And it's like
life extension.
That's just super interesting to me. I'm like, this is just very interesting that they've sort of like, and the idea that the corruption and the Sith are in finance and like in the sort of the commerce sector of what's going on in the galaxy. It's kind of interesting. I was like, that's fascinating.
Sorry, Adam, I'll let you go. I just want to make one statement. And I think if we have a little downtime in the winter, like early 2024, I think we should review Plagueis and do like a hardcore Plagueis review.
Oh yeah. No.
Like for real.
Yes.
Really?
We have, by the way, we are going to be rife with downtime this year based on the release schedule. So we're going to do a lot of these things. And this is the stuff I love. Like that is on audiobook now. I will 100% be able to get through that in a week. I think we should totally do that. So this leads me to two things. One, and it's kind of connected to something that Travis said, but I want to steal Grant's idea. Grant, you had talked about doing kind of like a Palpatine like origin story, right? And I always picture that as like
style of the Kill Bill animation. I want to be on record.
Yes. So can
very specific.
Can I steal that? But something that Ben you mentioned is that my favorite thing about the rule of two is that there's only two.
Yeah.
And so you could theoretically tell the entire history of the Sith from Darth Bane's rule of two to Palpatine. in a series because you could jump dozens of years, especially because we know Sith are long lived. So you could very easily just tell the entire lineage of the Sith through
Let's do
anime,
this one
through
more time.
anime style.
Yeah.
Yeah, like through
Actually,
that way. And you
yeah.
could even, but you could even do that is based on the characters, their characteristics and their personalities, change up the animation style, which relates to something that Travis mentioned that like, so Lucas told McDermott that Palpatine was over 100 years old when he was kind of talking to him about Palpatine. So the math works that you could get a really young Palps in the Acolyte. I mean, he said he probably not going to see it. It's cheap, but like, if that math is accurate.
That's interesting, man. Yeah. I love what you're talking about. And also, so this was my theory for Tales of the Jedi. I guess it's not really Jedi because it would be Tales of the Sith. But like to do it.
Also, why not just make Tales of the Sith?
So yeah, so option one is to do Tales of the Sith and actually have it be some of these characters. And like we know that like Tenebris, Plagueis, and Sidious were obsessed with long life, but maybe they were obsessed with long life because their like 20 previous predecessors died in 5 years. And like, how funny would it be if it was like, and then they took power and then they died, and then they took power and then they died, and then they took, you know, it's like they just kept, you know, there was this huge turnover, and you could do like really kind of amazing things if there was like fast turnover battles and wars within the Sith that no one knew about. And like, that's why no one's heard of them, because they were busy killing each other.
Yeah, and I mean, you could just, I mean, the part is like, it would just be hilarious to tell these stories, and you have some of these characters that are like short-lived, long-lived, but to have one story be like the 5-minute Sith.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the person who was like who was a Sith
for 5
like,
minutes.
For 5 minutes. Yeah. And then got killed. It's just like, this is it. I am.
Yeah.
And then done in immediately.
Yeah. It's dark, but it'd be like hilarious comedy, dark baits, like through that whole like thing there. What were you going to say, Grant? Sorry.
No. I feel like there's ways to do it. I almost think like, I would love to see sort of like, or understand maybe when the Sith had an army and sort of what happened with that army and how much territory they had and sort of like that canonized, because I feel like there's legend stuff that just talks about Sith space and a sector of the galaxy that's completely dominated by the Sith, and the core worlds were eventually captured by the Sith at one point, you know, in legends and things like that. I would just love to know how big were the Sith in the actual canon, and sort of like that stuff to be established would be really, really cool. And I almost think the secret sauce, if you want to go explore the Sith, is like, let's explore the time when the Sith controlled the galaxy. That allows you to completely invert the whole, you know, game board, basically, where it's like now it's actually the Sith who are doing all these like, you know, transit stops and, you know, scanning you for chain codes and like all this sort of stuff, all this classic process stuff we know from Star Wars.
I mean, that's the story, dude. Like, that's my bucket list Star Wars story I want to see before I die, is like, how did the Jedi emerge from the Jedi Sith Wars?
Right, and how did the Jedi win the day from that darkness, right? From the galaxy being completely controlled.
The ultimate win.
How did they retake the galaxy? How do they establish the Republic? You know, like that's actually the story that I'm dying to see.
Absolutely, man.
Then raising that Republic flag, you know, like they're, you know, to winning, basically, like, you know, recapturing the core or whatever they need to do, sort of take back the galaxy.
Yeah. So I said, you know, Tales of the Sith would be my number one choice for that animated series that's allegedly coming out next year. My number two choice would be a Tales of the Jedi, but with High Republic characters. And this feeds into what, you know, Travis was saying, or whoever, I'm sorry, that person was that was mentioning. It was like, let's start fleshing out these characters from the novels into more high profile mediums. Like an animated series with Vernestra Rowe would be amazing, you know, or, you know, Stellan Gios, or, you know, Man, or Keith Trennis, or Skier, or like any of these fantastic, you know, Bell Zettifar would be amazing. All those, you know, I think that's a Tales of the Jedi I want to see. I know he's kind of plugging plot holes, I think, and sort of catching people up who aren't reading books and comics. He's trying to sort of catch them up on what's been going on in the background, and that's necessary work, and it's great, and I'll love it. But it's like, I don't know. I can't watch Tales of the Jedi 1 again. I just can't. I can't watch Loud.
No,
I can't.
I don't feel a need to watch it again. It didn't really do anything for me, and it feels like it's just one of those things where it just feels like oddly named. Like, why are you calling yourself Tales of the Jedi if you're not really Tales of the Jedi? You're Tales of Yaddle getting killed and a bit of Ahsoka and a bit of Dooku.
It's
Like, I just
Dooku
no,
as a
I
Jedi,
yeah.
which is like okay,
Yeah.
but it was like a very. I mean, listen, Filoni has a very light touch these days, and I really like that. And he had a very light touch with Dooku in that series. It was kind of like
Yes.
he felt slighted. He was denied certain things. He was a bit of a rogue, and and then he went the wrong way. But it was like it didn't overly explain it. He did the same thing in Ahsoka, I think, to great effect, where it was sort of you have to sort of fill in the gaps yourself, which I think we need more of in all media these days. But yeah, I don't, I feel like that show was for not the hardcore nerds that already kind of know all the stuff.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I just want kind of standalone. Here's an episode about this Jedi. Here's an episode about that Jedi. Or Travis mentioned the episode that talks about Kellen Beck and Grogu.
Yep.
Like maybe you fill in that story.
Yep,
there.
Keller and Beck, that'd be great.
Right, like what do they do after the temple? Like getting away from the temple.
Yeah.
And what stuff. How did Keller
Like,
Beck?
I kind of rather see it there than take a full episode of The Mandalorian. I don't need it. Like,
yeah. All right. So we've sort of mentioned a bunch of the novels. There's a billion of them. I don't think we're going to summarize all of Phase 2 of High Republic. We just did a full month on High Republic, so we're caught up on that right now. If you're sort of new to our podcast, the last 4 episodes were all High Republic, catching us up, getting us from Phase 2 to Phase 3. We've gotten our first taste of Phase 3 and where they're going. And it's fantastic and it's great. We did Phase 2. It was a lot of backstory. It's sort of the origins of the Nihil, which was great, fascinating. Some new characters, obviously some old characters. The Nameless are there. Quest for Planet X was there. That was fantastic. And then there was other Star Wars novels too. Crimson Climb was
super good.
Crimson Climb and Rise of the Red Blade were I think top 10 novels for me. Like I
they're really really good.
Each new novel I sort of slide back into the top 10 somewhere. But I adored both of those. Jedi Battle Scars was not the novel I was expecting.
No,
and it was just a great standalone novel that was a companion piece for.
It was fun. It felt like an adventure. Like
I will say,
great ensemble sort of adventure.
I was not expecting what it was. I was not expecting it to be as horny as it was. I'll just say it right now.
Ever.
And what I appreciate about reading that book is it was tied into Jedi Survivor,
which we should talk about.
And
too.
We will. And I did not expect it to. I expected to enhance that game, but not in the way that it did, which was a single cutscene.
Right, the game sort of undercuts what happens in the book,
except for a single cutscene where you get clearly implied that, and I'm blanking on all of the characters' names.
Grease lost his arm.
Grease lost his arm, but there's an implied sex scene in that game.
Marin and Cal.
Between Marin and what's his name?
Cal Kestis?
The Cal Kestis.
Oh, well,
yeah.
I mean, so they smashed in the game. Spoiler alerts.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But the book was all that. The book was all the sexual tension between those two characters,
right?
Which then paid off in that one cutscene. So I was not expecting that to be the payoff.
Yeah.
But I was fully invested when that cutscene happened. I'm like, yes,
finally.
Finally.
I thought he was totally friend zoned, but then he wasn't. So
I thought he was friend zoned because Marin had, chose this other stormtrooper character.
Yeah, clearly pansexual, which is cool, man. And I thought
it was just interesting that they had feelings when I thought it was platonic, but it's
yeah.
Well, they allude in the book that it was sort of everyone was Cal is obsessed with you, and she's like, what? And so I think that was the thing where she's like,
that's
then
true.
she was like, oh, my best friend that we do all this fun stuff with all the time is interested in me.
Yeah. And then had some separation of time, which always, makes the heart grow fonder.
Indeed.
And then you add them together in a sandstorm, and you put together two people in a cave, and hey, what's going to happen?
Kill a couple stormtroopers, see what develops.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in a cave, and it's a sandstorm. Right, exactly.
Well, that book and the game together was just a great pairing, I thought.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
It was
too.
just like, and
Goes
I
back.
feel bad that I don't have the author's name on the tip of my tongue for
Sam Maggs.
Oh, Sam
I believe
Maggs.
is-
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Thank you, Grant.
Sam Maggs was given nothing, and she, right, female?
I believe
Yes.
so.
Oh God, I'm sorry, I'm so
remember
ignorant,
correctly.
but I am. So this is the truth. Just
Oh, you
slight.
mean in terms of knowing about the game development and where
No,
the story of the
is
game
Sam Maggs is a
going?
woman, correct?
Correct.
You keep talking. I will Google. Yes.
Yes, she. I just want to use proper
Yes.
pronouns here.
Yeah. Yep. She's a woman, and yeah,
Okay.
identifies as she/her. Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to say she did a fantastic job. She was given nothing,
Yeah.
and she just wrote a fantastic read with these characters. That they're great characters. So we should also talk about Jedi Survivor, which I think was a quantum leap above Jedi Fallen Order, which I loved. Not just because of the gameplay, which was more extensive. It was a little more open world. There was all this other customizability, and the aesthetics were amazing. But the story connected the High Republic to this, to the rule of the Empire. And it's such a good story.
Yeah, wonderfully weaved into the story, that all the High Republic stuff, Tana lore and Shintari Kree and
Yep.
Dagan Mara, that guy.
It's you
Dagan
pulling all
Mara,
the names
yeah.
out. This guy.
Yeah. And I can't remember a single one, but I loved the. I mean, I'd sniffed out about halfway through that what's his name was going to betray.
Really?
Cal. Yeah, it just was like, who's this new dashing hero, and why haven't we met him before? And I'm always suspicious of those characters. But again, a great job of telling a story that you're sympathetic, and you have to fight this guy. And I'm just like, I don't want to do
I was
this.
confounded that I had to fight that guy.
I know.
Yeah.
That is my biggest complaint.
Because
my
that's
biggest complaint about the
that's
video
how
game.
real it was. Because it was like, what's his name? The actor's name is Noshir Dalal, and I'm trying to get his character name, but for some reason,
It's like because of the B, doesn't it? It's like
Bode.
Bodhi.
Okay.
Right. So
Bode.
yeah, I mean that's the whole point. You're just like,
Wait, so can we do a recap on this real
I'm
quick?
fighting my brother.
Was his daughter being held by the Imperials on that facility on Nova Garen?
Yes.
Or so he had no choice.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Yeah.
It was he kind of ended up going along with it in the end to kind of get
See, I had thought that he almost willingly just lived on
he
Nova.
did towards the end. Like he
Intelligence,
flipped because he used to be a Jedi,
secret,
and then he
yeah.
kind of, I think he thought that was the same solution. Like it's the
That's-
the path to hell
2000.
is paved with good intentions. Like he did it for his daughter and then kind of bought in.
Yeah.
But I love that story. I thought it was so well told. I will say that moment. There's a moment at the beginning of the game, and I've talked about it so much, but I just wanted to mention this. We're talking about best of this year. Is the moment at the beginning of the game when you're on Coruscant and you take on one of the sisters of the Inquisitorius,
Nice
and
sister, yeah.
it is like the most Jedi moment because we often talk about, and myself as somewhat as a pacifist, having never had that actively tested in my life, so it's easy to say, but where we talk about the Jedi, they have lightsabers, they battle, they have to take lives. And he takes her life, but he spends the time before doing it reminding her, you were good, you were this. Like this moment, it just felt like the most Jedi moment of there's no other option but to take this life, but I'm not going to let her die without honor and reminding her that there's good in her, right? Like there's that moment I just love in that beginning of that game where I was just bought in completely. And that's like the first 15 minutes of that game. And I'm like, yes, get Jedi in this game, even though I'm going to chop through thousands of things for the next 10 hours.
Yeah, I mean that third game, and we're probably not going to get it from a couple of years, but Cal is really close to the dark side. I mean, he's using a blaster to kill people. You kill everything. You kill animals. You kill everything. And in Rise of the Red Blade, every time they take a life, it's like they feel it in their heart. And Cal's like, nope, it's fine.
It's just so hard to make a video game around Jedi, right? That's honest. But speaking of the third game, and we were talking about it being connected to the High Republic, and also one thing we didn't talk about, Travis mentioned, is it's connected to Obi-Wan, right? Because it talks about the path, right?
Yeah.
It's connected to
Yeah.
the path. And do you wonder, and his question is like, do you think, or if he wonders if like some of the other characters like Reva or others might show up in the third game, right? Now that they've pulled in the path, like you could continue some of these character stories in the third game.
I think that is the next like escalation of that game. It'd be nice to get some named characters in there. Quinlan Voss would be amazing.
Yeah.
You start like bringing in new Jedi, and you can pick which Jedi you want to play, and they all have different styles, and like they expanded your fighting techniques with Cal, and he can do all these sort of things. But I think like it would be fun to play new characters that each had their own designed sets of fighting styles. And I'm sorry for anyone if I'm spoiling Jedi Survivor, but like I'm spoiling it right now. You get to play as Sarah Jinda, and you have like a discrete set of skills that you can use for Sarah, and it's like Sarah. I think
it's
Sarah
Sarah.
Jinda.
Siri Jinda.
Seer, actually, I think.
God, you're right. Seer
That's
Jinda.
what it
Sorry. And so I think that would be the next thing. It'd be kind of fun to be playing some named characters, even if they're new that we haven't seen before. But like if you get a Quinlan Voss in there, that would be really cool. That series.
Well, can't Cal now touch things and sort of go back? Like they could do more of the sort of the tactile sort of force visions where he's touching objects and psychometry or whatever that's called. Like you could do more with that in terms of like living in the shoes of other Jedi, and then that third game could be like, let's be this Jedi during this Clone Wars battle for like a fun mission. Let's be this.
I like that.
That would be wild.
Jedi who had to fight Vader again, but it's a different scenario.
I mean, if you do want to go into old EU, well, to get
you could go way back if you went into like, I mean,
no, but like the power of the old EU is like they learned how to like why can't I think of his name? Jason Solo learned how to time slip and time travel and actually like affect change. Not saying we need to go there, but it is a dark side power, right? It's
that's the kind of thing that like Filoni and Filoni alone could do.
Yeah,
it has the license to do.
Filoni just draws a line with a wolf and just like walks into this piece of paper.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, pretty amazing stuff. That game's great. Again, it's gonna be a minute. Oh, but that's another thing we're gonna get in 2024. We might get a new game. I think we're allegedly going to.
We'll see.
Couch. It's a definite maybe. But it is not Scoundrels.
Outlaws.
Thank you.
Outlaws. Yeah.
And so that's going to be even more open world. It's funny how iterative this process is with Star Wars games. It's like they're just catching up, like little by little. Like okay, how do we take the present technology and
in this one you're sort of playing as a smuggler type character, Kay Vess, between Empire and Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Age of Rebellion,
or during the War of the Bounty Hunters and Crimson Reign. It's a weird time period when you look at the comics. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Lots of interactions.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this. It's open world. Like you're gonna get the sense of jumping on a speeder bike and like racing across, like the desert landscape and the sun's setting. Plural. You're gonna get that sensation. You're gonna.
Yep.
I guess there's actual like space travel as well. I'm guessing. I wonder how it's gonna work. I think games like Starfield, I think, outline really fun ways you can do it that aren't too intensive on sort of graphic, engines. In terms of like you can have a ship just kind of go to the atmosphere and fly. From there, I do hope maybe there's more aerial flight than was in Survivor. I'm hoping, given that you're a smuggler character, I'm hoping there's like some ship gameplay.
Hope so. I feel like that's
a
missing.
little bit.
Like we got what was that, Starfighter? No, what was the name of the Squadrons? We got Squadrons. Remember Squadrons for PS for PlayStation, which like play
strictly
that
ship combat.
Yeah, but I think we need to add some of that in. Like we need that again. Not to like again get your bingo cards out and Adam's going to talk about Galaxies again, but like that added when you had that ability to not just like go to a spaceport, wait for your thing to load for 15 minutes because it was the aughts.
Yeah.
But you could like hop into your spacecraft and then like fly around in low orbit and in the thing and then jump to hyperspeed. Like that's what I want in a game. Like I want a little bit of space battle. It doesn't have to be like super amazing, but just give me some. Yeah.
Squadrons is too much for me. It was too much. Like they tried to make it this like multiplayer like hardcore game. I couldn't even get through the like regular game. I just got my butt kicked so hard.
I was getting destroyed in that game.
I was okay, not to humble brag, but I was doing okay in it for whatever reason. Not great.
Did you finish
but
the narrative though?
Yeah, I finished the narrative, and then I was in the multiplayer. I was like hanging in there. Like
I
was
never good. People online.
But I was doing all right. But I wasn't gonna win everything.
To survive. I was like, I need to go fast, I guess.
Yeah. But I just at the end of the day, I was just like, there's no. We talk about this when it comes to like Battlefront 2. It's just like I need a narrative. I can't just because I will get obsessed and never stop playing this game. And it'll just be no good. So, which is similar to what happened with Red Dead Redemption 2, which is probably going to happen with Star Wars Outlaws. So, that might be the last game I ever play.
I am thinking you just land on the planet, or you fast travel to other planets. I can't imagine there's a lot of starship.
I mean, in like the demo,
space exploration.
you break atmosphere and arrive in a space battle above the planet, and you're like, oh, and you like need to like escape the space battle
now
to jump to hyperspace. It's like. I mean, that sounds amazing. I think it's like I'm saying, it's an iterative step towards the game we all want, which is like open. Like I want to just be in Star Wars, and getting in a starship and blasting, through like actually navigating hyperspace travel. I think is a big step.
Yeah,
it's a great era too between Empire and Jedi. Like that is such a good. Place to put that game.
It's a good time period. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, and I'm excited. I'm really excited to play a Star Wars game that is possibly not centered around the Force. Which I like the Force. I like Jedi Survivor, but like this idea of just being a smuggler or just being like again back when I was playing the open world game or the MMORPG, just being a bounty hunter was like the best thing ever.
Right. Right.
Not having a ton of lightsabers flying around.
Yeah.
I love Jango Fett back in the day for, I don't know what console it was, N64 maybe.
I think.
Great game.
That was good. That was a good game. Played on one of the PlayStations.
Yeah, they re-released it and I played a little bit of it.
PS2,
yeah. Now it would be amazing. Like if they ever did, like, just for nostalgia purpose and just to like put a code on it, they need to make 1313. Like just to like because it was like
just do it.
We were
now it would have that sort of like meta zeitgeisty the buy-in by all the fans. Like it's got it already, so it's like why not just you could even do something where it's like Boba. It could be like Jango Fett and maybe someone else. Like I guess not even it's Boba Fett and someone else. On 1313, but they just offhandedly say it. And you're like, oh, that's epic.
Yeah,
doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Boba Fett story.
In the stories, they mention level 1313 as much as they can. There was like one, like one of the comics we just read, the Star Wars comics. They like, it's like, oh, we're passing all these levels, and they like, of course, they're like, and this is level 1313, and like,
yep.
It's a wink and a nod to the hardcores who just played, the Star Wars video games and were teased with that game for years. Yeah, it'd just be very satisfactory to make that happen.
So, Travis has an addition to our Jango Fett.
Please, you're on a roll, Travis. Thank you.
Yeah. I enjoy. He also mentioned it before, but I'm going to save that for possibly the last thing we talk about at the end of this episode because it's too big of a thing.
We should be getting close there because I think we're at like an hour and a half.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Yeah, we should probably.
But he mentioned that you can play as Jango Fett in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4, which I'm like, what? So I jumped off. I think I jumped off Tony Scott at 3, and I'm like, apparently I should have held on for one more,
and
because then I could have like my two favorite things would have like combined. I could have been like. I would still be playing Tony Hawk apparently if I knew that you could play as Jango Fett.
You'd be collecting bounties on a skateboard with a jetpack.
You'd be Darth Maul, I think, in the first game.
Yeah. Sorry, just had to share.
Thank you.
Blew my mind.
Thank you, Travis. You're on a roll. Thank you for your input here. Right on. So why don't we sum this thing up? There was a million great comics. There was all these great books. It was the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. And
from a certain point of
Let's
view,
go.
it was amazing. Can I do Comic Corner for a minute?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just because I gotta. Which I think the year actually ended out really strong. We're going to cover Dark Droids soon.
We are.
We'll talk about that. Like I that renewed my faith in crossover events. I feel like that was the cleanest of the crossover events, but I feel like the entire year was subsumed by Hidden Empire, which was good.
I really liked Hidden Empire actually, but
which I appreciate. I just the comic nerd in me, it gets a little tired of the crossover event of the year that takes over all of your comics and then does not allow a lot of storytelling outside of those. And I got kind of like, having reread it the third time when we covered it, I really enjoyed it because then I was able to put it all in perspective and see what's happening. But the problem that happens, and this also happened with Dark Droids, is I started reading the whatever issue of Star Wars main run, and luckily at the front they said, warning, do not read this comic until Dark Droids 5 comes out in 2 weeks. So why are you releasing this comic to the stand
it's 2 weeks
if I'm not supposed to read it for 2 weeks? Because as we've learned, literally since 1993, so we are now 30 years later, we have not learned the lesson that it is physically impossible to create a giant crossover event that does not get messed up because of deadlines and you have 70 different people working on 30 different books, and I'm just done. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it. Just tell a story that's like one thing, and then like let's tell those stories. I'm hoping Dark Droids will wrap up, which actually I think did a really good job. We'll cover it. I'm very pro Dark Droids. My hope for 2024 going forward is please no giant crossover event. A couple of crossovers here or there is good. I want to see these characters
develop.
This is something
organically.
Can I join you in this sort of protest of just sort of like massive sort of crossover events and like just massive eventizing in comics, because it's been the hallmark of superhero comics for decades now.
It's all they do.
Put as many characters in the story as possible to sort of I guess to maybe explore new art direction with the characters, new abilities, new personalities you can assign these characters. But I almost want to just go to more intimate stories where it's like, give me one character for like the first 3 issues. Like I feel like we're so spread thin sometimes with
especially bounty hunters,
character development in
or
comics.
Afra.
It just kills me. I don't know.
Yeah, and Afra, it's like I don't care about Just Lucky.
character.
Like I don't.
I just don't.
Can I say this? Is I think Alyssa Wong, I like her writing. I think she writes Afra really, really well. I think she's been hamstrung with having to connect this to this larger world where I'm just like,
so many characters. So many.
Yeah,
she has like 4 spurned lovers, and then 7 other people. Like,
speaking of spurned lovers, remember we read the Santa Staros series?
Yep.
It was 5 issues. It was wonderful. It was so good, and I think the reason why it was so good is because it told a standalone story that wasn't tied to the giant thing. Which is like, it work. If it works, it works. But like, I don't know. Like, if you could give me a Christmas present, Disney, or a holiday present, or a New Year present, whatever you're going to give me, Life Day present, just give me 12 issues of Dr. Afra.
Yeah,
that is not part of a larger crossover. I want that. I love that character. I want to see her do her thing for 12 issues.
I think Greg Pak does a great job with Vader, though, and sort of capturing these really personal moments with Anakin and the flashbacks and all that sort of stuff. Really, really well done in terms of like making me care about Anakin's, tragedy, basically, and sort of, I don't know. I just thought it was really well done. You actually get to and you get an inside look at the character and sort of the internal sort of, the flashbacks he's having and all that sort of stuff. I just thought that was so well done. And intimate. And in other comics, I think just too many characters and I can't keep track of what's going on. And there's MacGuffins and we're racing from point A to point B. And it's like, I almost want more deep diving with characters in these pieces. And Sana Staros, I think, did that.
Yep.
I think Alyssa Wong crushes with Afra because I think you get That's a pretty small ensemble to keep track of. And I love
and a
Afra,
meaty
and I love
character.
and Magna Tolvin and Son of
Yeah, I
Staros.
think
Like
Magna
I love
Tolvin
those
could be her
characters.
own. Like, I want to see her
Because
in
I think of
something
them as
else.
like the university friends. Like I just think of them as like the scholars basically.
Yeah.
And I love that trio. Or I love
I mean, it's like
the other
5 of
character.
them,
I'm
but
forgetting her name. I'm just
Yeah,
forgetting her
they're
name.
so good.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just have trouble keeping track of them. But I mean, it is a strong
Same.
cadre. It's all like really interesting, very different female like actors and or characters, and they're great. Yeah, like Magna Tolvin is someone I'd love to see like in like Andor, or like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or something else. Like she's such a good character, but I feel like she needs to stand apart from Afra for a story, and just do a thing. Or maybe she's works with Cal in the next video game or something. But
Yeah,
such
a great character.
Yeah, they've created fantastic characters there, but yeah, Magna Tolvin's like ridiculous. I don't know. They're all great, but yeah, I agree. Anything more from Comic Books Corner? I didn't want to shut you
No,
down.
I think that's all. I think that's it. I think
Yeah.
it was a year that was focused on pretty much one thing.
Hidden Empire. Yeah.
Yeah,
The High Republic stories are incredible.
And
So good.
And it
Yep.
Shadows of Starlight, The Blade.
The Blade. Yeah.
I mean,
High Republic main run has been incredible.
it works so
and the-
well
and the
with Crimson
read.
Climb
Yeah.
too. The Hidden Empire Crimson Climb
Yes.
was like great.
High Republic Adventures with Daniel Jose Elder, like
So
shout
good.
out.
Yeah.
Always
So
good.
good.
Anything he does. I will say, like, again, Hidden Empire is, I think, good. I think it's worth watching. And like the way they weave it all in together is it's one of those things that you just have to wait till the whole thing's over, that you can read it in the order that it's meant to be read.
Which is
in.
what I
It is-
did, and it was great.
and that's why it worked for
Yeah.
you. Just don't read it when it comes out. But it is a really good story. Like I really recommend the story. I just get frustrated with the way it all comes together. But it's not bad. I didn't not enjoy it. I just got a little frustrated.
It did sort of set up a Kira Disney Plus series. I was like, oh, can we just continue this on live?
Yeah.
In live
Man,
action.
I'd love a Kira story post like Hidden Empire. Or anytime really. I mean, fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Can I do a little? I know we're running out of time here, and by running out of time, I mean going way over time.
Sure. I mean, it's the last one of the year.
Sorry.
So, yeah.
I just want to
Eggnog's
voice
flowing.
this one opinion. I really hope that Filoni's feature film isn't Avengers Assemble. Like I hope it's.
I hope it's not too.
I mean, I don't know. There's a way to do it, and every time like Boba Fett comes in to save the day, and Bo-Katan comes in to save the day, and like to do it well, and I'm sure that's there. But I just like fundamentally, I just really hope that's not what happens, because it's such a Marvel thing, and it's going to be such a hard like needle to thread.
Don't you think it's the downfall of Thrawn and like Timothy Zahn's going to bring in to like consult? Like it's going to be like,
I hope it's very
how do you
focused.
end Thrawn as a character like in the canon, and like
I hope
how
so.
can
I
you do
hope
that
it's like
adequately?
literally Heir to the Empire, and it's like we have the big three back for it. Like you know.
That's
Heir to the Empire gets stabbed by Rook, right? Like that
was his end in the book, and
in the books.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we know
But-
Rook exists somewhere. Maybe he'll reunite with him. Maybe he won't.
we haven't had Rook yet.
Yeah,
Not yet, but he's now back in the known
yeah.
galaxy.
I think the
so-
only appropriate way to get rid of Thrawn is with the big three, and I don't know how you even do that. And by big three, I mean Leia, Luke, and Han.
Luke and Han. I think they
Chewie
just
Lando.
do it now. I think now, with how well they're able to do a TV show and with the way technology is advancing, is I think this is what's going to happen. My fear, and this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier, is I can see how they're like, okay, and now we have to go to Tatooine to get the help of Boba Fett to pull together the syndicate in order to get this, and then we're going to go over here and get the plucky crew of kids and whoever his name
Jude
is
Law,
to do this
yeah.
side of the gig, and it's just like I don't make it a Mandoverse movie, make it a Thrawn movie.
Yeah.
And organically, whoever fits in there. And by the way, I don't know that Mando fits into that story organically.
Yeah, he really
I'm just
doesn't
saying.
right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you want to pull in one, or it's like, if there's a way you can organically pull them in, okay, I mean, if it's going to be a battle of the Mandalorians that fight off Thrawn, like I don't know.
What's the New Republic doing? Like, it's so weird.
Right,
like,
exactly. This is a New Republic fight, and yeah, it's not a Mandalorian fight. And it's like if it is a Mandalorian fight, then they need to take a new status in the galaxy. I just feel like that is a path fraught with peril, and I hope they try to think of something different.
Yeah,
I feel like Filoni's injected a lot of horror tone and mysticism into Star Wars
we got zombies
storytelling with Ahsoka.
Yeah.
That I'm thinking you could do something really fun with Thrawn in that, like, yeah. So we did all this, like he explored the magic of the witches of Dathomir and sort of what that power bestows and what all that means. It was so much fun to sort of see him, go down the rabbit hole of this mysticism and I guess harness it. And his night troopers, I guess, were all, imbued with that power. And he was just down with that. He was fine with that being the case. Sure. Seems to be all about
weapon is a weapon to Thrawn.
Exactly.
Right.
He
sees it as a weapon in a way. But it's also fun that sort of like it's compelling that he sort of maybe first saw it as sort of a dark, mystery that he had to explore. It'd be fun if we just we kind of kept with that horror, that tone that Filoni's now bringing in.
Love
where
that.
You can now explore maybe the contingency plan in a new way with the Emperor, where it's like his messenger droids, this like dark mystery of like, is there someone still out there controlling, the Shadow Council? Is it Palpatine himself? What is that? Is Snoke coming from that? Is this the First Order? Like, what are we looking at here? Like something about another darker mystery than even the mystical, dark arts of the Witches of Dathomir. Now you have a new dark mystery, which is Palpatine, and does the Phantom live, basically?
Exactly. Yeah, and that ties perfectly into the sequel trilogy, and that's I think how you do it.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're missing, and again, we'll bring in Travis's comment because I think it's worth commenting on, is that, like, so we talk about Era of the Empire, how there's the mad clone Jedi part, right? Which we're kind of talking about, is that going to be Ray Stevenson's character? How are they gonna get his Force user? Because he's now going to end up in the known galaxy without a Force user, right? He does not have anyone working for him. So Travis said, get ready for it.
All right.
What if this was to reveal that Mace Windu is alive? Like, this is the moment that Mace Windu is alive, right? And being used. But like, there's
we're there opening night,
right? And what I love about this, but what he then proposes is that the idea of like getting Ahsoka and Boba having to save him, basically the two people that hate him the most, right? Because one took his father and the other one like chased him, would be kind of poetic in this idea of these two characters being used to save or destroy Mace at the end. Fascinating. Not something I'd ever would have thought of, but really interesting.
Anyone who can rope Mace back into the situation, I'm in. That's great.
I mean, we are talking about ahead to 2024. We are getting a Mace Windu
I thought we were
limited series
get the Mace
comic.
Windu, like John Wick, like in the streets of Coruscant.
Yeah.
We still might. They're bringing him back for comic form next year, so they're going to sell us some Mace. Brought to you by Mark
I think we've been pitching
Bernard.
that on here for a long time. We're just like, young Mace at the Academy, like that would be
great,
incredible. He's the perfect student to sort of highlight.
It's like, what was this guy's rise to power like? Yeah,
right. Yeah,
fascinating. All right, was that the final Travis comment?
I think that is. There's another one, but I think that's like just end there. Like that's the winner.
Right.
Like that's the
Travis. Thanks for rolling with us through this like 2 hours of miscellaneous Star Wars chatter. Thanks for hanging with us. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Super fun.
And thanks to everyone else who's listening to us, on the podcasts and checking us out. It's good to be back together.
Yeah. And subscribe to our YouTube channel because you'll get a little notification when we're recording live. And if you get that, hop on and
talk to us
and share. Yeah, talk to us. We'll talk back. Yeah.
We'll talk about stuff in real time.
Yeah.
Great combo with Travis today.
Everything's on YouTube these days, though. I think next Saturday we have a date to plan our this is meeting 0 for Grant's campaign. That will be quite an interesting voice.
Guys, I've been practicing voices in my downtime during the break, and it's an outrageous number of voices.
Right.
And
that's good. I got my voice down. It sounds a lot like this.
Yeah. I've
you lucky?
I've got some people I've been working on. Yeah, so Grant created a role-playing game that he's been working on for a long time, and I cannot wait to play it, and that's going to be integrated into our situation soon, in one way or the other. Probably live, and we'll figure it out. Yeah, it's going to be live.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that will be a thing that's happening. So we'll get to all immerse ourselves in Grant's storytelling.
Cool.
And it'll be fun. Yeah, next week I think we're going to talk about Dark Droids, right?
Yeah. We'll talk. We'll also figure
That's
out
right.
off air what we want to cover. Do we want to cover just the main run, or do we want to cover it all?
All right.
We can talk, because that's 5 issues or that's 25 or 30 issues. We'll talk.
Good Lord. Thank the Force.
I think it's 25.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk off air about that, but we're going to start dipping our toes into
version of, at the very least, if you're wanting to read along the main run of Dark Droids. We'll at least cover that.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to do that. This was fun. Thanks for saddling up at the old cantina with us. We greatly appreciate it. And we will talk to you next week on Cantina Chronicles.
Let's go.
Great job, Adam.